There Louise was, sitting across the table from her friend, listening to yet another rant about work drama. And as she did so, her own thoughts started to swirl. She was overwhelmed. She was exhausted. She had a to-do list a mile long. But she didn't dare interrupt or excuse herself. What if her friend thought she was rude? What if she got upset? So Louise continued to sit there smiling and poured even more of herself into the conversation. And as she did so, this quiet, bitter resentment towards herself started to grow in her chest. Later, she would lie in bed wondering, why does it feel like I always have to give so much more than I get? If you resonate with this, maybe you feel guilty for setting boundaries. Maybe you feel like you're always prioritizing other people over yourself. Maybe you don't even know what your needs are. That was true for me. Maybe you find yourself constantly thinking about other people. Are they happy? Are they upset? Have I done something wrong? Maybe no matter how much effort you put into keeping everyone around you happy and content, you find that you always end up feeling exhausted and unfulfilled and maybe resentful. If that's true, and it's also true that kind of what you want most is to feel valued and secure and safe and most of all, loved, then I think I've got some insights in this video that could be helpful for you, some blind spots and some breakthroughs. Because it's completely understandable. If you're bending over backwards, suppressing your true feelings, walking on eggshells, and you feel like you need to do that just to keep other people around you, it makes total sense if you feel stuck or trapped. Trying to please other people and to stop them from feeling disappointed can often feel like kindness or selflessness or like a good thing to do. And on the surface, it can make sense. You want to be liked, you want to have peace, you want to make other people happy. What's the problem? But beneath it all, there might be something deeper at play. You might be feeling a need to control how other people respond to you and how they perceive you. If you find yourself constantly adjusting your words, your actions, maybe even your opinions and your personality to avoid conflict or rejection, it might be that you're not just being nice. It might be that in order to secure your sense of safety, you feel a need to control something which you don't have control over. Other people's thoughts, other people's feelings, and other people's responses. I had a breakthrough on this years ago when I learned, it's not a pleasant thing to learn often, but I learned that people pleasing is a form of manipulation, trying to control other people. It doesn't make it malicious or ill-intended. For a lot of people pleasers, it typically develops because at some point it was necessary. Maybe in childhood you learned that love or security was conditional, that being good meant being quiet or convenient, putting others first or taking responsibility for other people's well-being. Maybe you were blamed for other people's emotions. Maybe, like me and a lot of other people, at some point you felt like your needs just didn't matter as much as keeping the peace. If that's true, then it makes sense if over time this is something that you've carried into adulthood and felt like the only way to have secure relationships is to continue the same patterning. But what works in childhood might not necessarily be working in adulthood. I was constantly analyzing myself and changing myself in an effort to get other people to like me, accept me, and approve of me. And I found it reassuring to learn that maybe the reason I got stuck is because love and connection can't be born out of manipulation. Me feeling acceptable and being accepted couldn't be formed out of people-pleasing tactics or changing myself in an effort to control how other people perceive me. So the really great news here is that if you felt like you have to try harder than other people, maybe it's the trying harder than other people that's the very thing that's keeping you stuck in the first place. And if that's true, then that's great news because changing that is something that you have full direct control over, totally within your power. In this video, I'd love the opportunity to explore with you what that alternative looks like and also why it can feel so scary to step away from people pleasing and seeking approval. And more importantly, how you can develop more self-assurance and self-confidence in yourself without relying on other people's opinion of you or external validation. Because true safety doesn't come from keeping other people happy. I used to say, if my partner's happy, I'm happy. But true safety doesn't come from making other people happy. It comes from knowing that you'll be okay, regardless of how they feel. They're responsible for them, you're responsible for you. So what can you do instead? What I came to learn is I wanted a secure, fulfilling relationship with my partner and also with my friends. And I learned that the kind of relationships that I needed were actually built on mutual support, mutual respect, shared experiences, and trust, and typically aligned values as well. Feeling acceptable, accepted, and loved means allowing yourself to be fully seen for who you are. It's a big cliche to say we teach other people how to love us by how we love ourselves. So feeling acceptable to other people starts at home, feeling acceptable to ourselves. Once we can get clear on our needs and our values and who we are, and we accept ourselves as we are, not once we've become someone different, not once we've become a more evolved version of ourselves, not once we've cut away all the things that we don't like, that we think other people won't appreciate, but once we can fully accept ourselves as we are, and we know our needs, and we know our values, we're living accordingly, then we can start setting boundaries. We can start expressing our needs. We can start trusting that the right people will stay. The people that don't align with us don't align. They don't need to stay. And your inner circle in life can become filled with the relationships and people that are aligned with you, not because you're bending yourself out of shape, but because they truly care about your well-being and they genuinely value you. Instead of trying to be good enough to be loved, instead we can focus on being authentic enough to experience real love. And I know that can feel scary, and it is a process, it is a journey. You can take baby steps, but I'm hoping that conceptually this is making sense. But here's something that you can pick up and get started with immediately. It can help you to get a little uncomfortable and start this journey without being overwhelmed. I call it the pause and check-in exercise. You can pause and check in as many times as you like throughout the day and ask yourself, what's my intention by doing or saying this? Am I doing this because I'm trying to control how someone else views me, or control their feelings, or control how they respond to me? Or am I doing or saying this because it aligns with me, my values, and my needs? Am I showing up how I want to show up, regardless of how they respond? Please bear in mind that it can be really tricky at first to even know the difference. And it can take some time to get to know yourself separate from other people. So just be aware of that. And that's totally fine if it is a bit confusing at first. It won't always be. If you keep showing up and practicing with this check-in, what's my intention here? Am I living from the outside in or living from the inside out? It will get clearer. I'm confident about that. If this is feeling right to you, but you need some more reassurance or more understanding on how to fully be yourself and use that to form healthy relationships confidently, then I recommend a couple of other YouTube videos that I've made for you. One is looking at aligning to your needs and values, and another is looking at why we might make our self-worth conditional on other people's opinions of us. It makes sense why we might do this and what other people do instead. To move into either of those videos, just head to the description and you'll find the links there. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.